Well, I need a win. I'm a little frustrated. I got a lot of projects. Can't find parts for. Frames for all the good parts groups for all the frames. I need a win. I picked this up at the Sunday salvage sale 2 weeks ago. For the shifters and the bars. And the guy said he wanted it, but then he ended up not coming. It's an MB5, which is uncool, but it's a real chromo Tongay butted tubes. Why is this less cool than an MB2 or 3 then? It's real steel and real weld is basically the same bike. It does feel kind of heavy to me, but I don't know. It's, a lot of times it was the parts only thing that was different. I want to win. It's been sitting in the yard for like, over a week, half thinking someone would steal it. I'm going to pull it apart and, maybe these tires are still good. Maybe the rims are still good. Maybe the bottom bracket's still good. And I'm going to build a little quick tune and flip bike out of junky spare parts. And maybe that'll make me feel like I got a win if I got an actual, I got like 15 project bikes and nothing for sale. And I'm feeling broke. And it's the end of summer, so bike season's about to wind down. Why not build a bike for sale? It's got room for fatter tires, it's got room for fenders, it's a little commuter bike. It's tiny, but it's cheapo. Think about one buying it, saving these rings, even though the middle one's probably dead. Maybe upgrading some of these parts to something prettier, less rusty, and seeing if we can make a cool bike. So I'm checking. Rims don't feel like they have excessive wear. They're one of the cool things about it is that they look like they're Ritchie Vantage Pro wheels. They're not noticeably worn out. They're not noticeably out of round or true. They're just Exarch hubs. I don't know. Let's tear into this. See if we can build the bike over the rest of tonight, maybe some tomorrow, and feel real cool about it. First thing I'm going to do, I already took the bar and stem off I wanted, got the kickstand out of the way. I had fenders, I took them off. First thing I'm going to do is get the rest of the cables and housing off and get the rack off. And what I like to do when I start a build is really look at the frame, make sure there's not a cracked bridge or stay or tire wear all rubbed through. Make sure it's not frontaled, there's no big ripples you can feel into here from front collision. Make sure the fork doesn't look all wonky. And want to make sure the frame's pretty solid. The seat post isn't frozen. Let's check that right now. Oh, not frozen. Stem came out a little hard, not too hard. And then the next thing I like to do is wheels and tires. They're, the frame is the real foundation of a build, but the wheels and tires are really number two. And I just don't like building a bike without the wheels being round and true, with even spoke tension and repacked bearings and no damage in the bearings. Make sure they're really good to go. Good, no wear on the brake surface. Tires, tubes, new cassette, the whole thing on and done. And I think I'll pull this thing apart and clean the parts. I got a really nice set of brakes I ought to sell. I'm thinking about putting them on here instead, just because these ones are a little rusty and crusty. Maybe I shouldn't care. Maybe I should just put these right back on. I don't like rusty stuff on bikes. So I'll check in with you guys every time I find something that really messes me up or I have a real win. Haha! So, there's a Bridgestone I didn't even want. It's an MB5, which isn't even cool, even though it's all real Tongay chromo tubes and chromo super tubing and butted and Bridgestone and all that stuff. This bike's really coming along. I cleaned it up, a lot of grease and dirt's come off the frame. Bottom bracket came out easy, headset came out easy. There's 30 years of dry and hard grease in there. Bearings are fine, races are fine. No cracks, no damage. There's nothing wrong with this bike other than being 40 years old and a little bit scuffy. So it is going to go back together. As many original pieces as possible. And do a different bar and stem. I think I got like a walled cruiser bar. I've got like this kind of cool walled cruiser bar. Chrome and steel and uprighty, and the bike's upside down. You can kind of imagine. So I'll use a random whatever stem that gets the bars up and out a little bit, and this cool cruiser bar. And the stock headset and bottom bracket and cranks. The rings on the cranks are amazing. They're covered in grease, but they're dead. The brake hardware was rusty. The derailleur hardware was rusty. Haven't decided if I'm going to use the brakes in stock derailleurs yet or use correct matching rear derailleur. I have that's actually in pretty good shape. And won by it. Because I do have just this single 7-speed trigger shifter that came on some random project. It had a mismatched front that works totally fine and is awesome. Just this on this wall bar with some brake levers. Probably the brake levers that came off this. Probably be pretty dope if I can make it all work and with angles I like and whatnot. These trigger shifters are pretty tough with bendy bars sometimes. Sometimes. I think that'll be just barely enough. It's a pretty small bike. It's only smallish hands. So yeah, dope. Probably most likely. I have some other bars too. What stem? I don't know. I got 80s SR road stem. It's kind of tall. Meh. I got this ugly black mountain bike stem. It's all scruffy. That I probably couldn't get nearly deep enough into this tiny little frame. I've got some threadless things and some adapters, so I could do a ugly uprighty thing or a black, okay looking uprighty thing. And a bucket more stems. I don't really know. I also just got this funky little Raleigh off of Facebook Marketplace for 60 bucks. I think it'd be good for parts. I haven't really checked it out yet. Just walking home, I met the guy a few blocks away. I thought maybe it would have Dior thummies. That would be good for a project, but it doesn't. It's got Sun Tour thummies and set index and some Chang Star and cheapy brake levers. So probably the original ones are integrated and went bad. What it does have is original wheels with DX hubs, shiny bright silver DX hubs, DX rear derailleur, and some nice DX cranks. Also 175. I thought maybe it'd be shorter. Yeah, DX front derailleur. The rings look good on these too, man. 46, 36, 24. It's got the crank dust caps, original bottom bracket. He put pretty new tires on it at some point. Never really rode. So I mean, worst case, maybe I'll be able to steal these tires for the MB5 project. I don't know. It could be cool. If these cranks were shorter, I'd steal them for the Trek 520 project. Maybe I still will. Yeah, I'll check these wheels out and see if they're smooth and low miles. And it's got the right, cheapy Dior cool mountain brakes. I had a set of these shifters for a Sun Tour group and I ended up selling the shifters, so maybe I'll save these ones for the Sun Tour group or put them right up on eBay and sell them too. Who cares? Oversized bar with a cool Tonga MTB sticker. Maybe worth a couple of bucks for these odd oversized 1.1/8 threaded bikes. It's a cool straight fork. I bought one of these a while ago for parts. Parts were mostly junk, but I ended up getting like 50 or 60 just for the frame. Maybe I'll be able to get 50 or 60 just for the frame. Seat post and stem. I don't know, but it's good to have these parts. Especially that Trek 520, maybe these brakes are nicer. Maybe the hardware is less rusty. Maybe it needs a cone or something. I can steal it out of one of these if the rims are bad. Whatever, 60 bucks. All the DX stuff. Good cranks and chain rings, good tires. I'll pull this one apart too and really check it out and see what's up with it. Raleigh, Technium, chill. So I'm working on this MB5. Everything's going along pretty well. Spoke tension's good on the wheels. They're round and true. I barely had to touch them. The tires are really old and crusty. So I needed some tires, and I was looking around. I didn't want to get any. I found the Raleigh online, and I bought it. It looked like it might have matching tires, and I thought it had the shifters I want. So I got this Raleigh. Man, this Raleigh had a real tune-up. and then looked like it had 2 miles put on it and then put away and not ridden for a few years. So not only did the Raleigh have nice tires, brand new tires, tubes, and rim strips, I took those out and swapped them over onto the wheels. It also had a brand new chain of cassettes. I'm going to swap them on. Looks like it doesn't have 10 miles on it. So the MB now has a solid set of shoes, matching tires, matching rims, overhauled hubs. I really scrubbed them all up, a little wire brush. Use a little soft wire brush and it won't really scuff up the finish on most stuff. Little Scotch-Brite around the rims and nipples to get them nice and clean. They were black before. Looks like there's a little teen spot. I found some nice non-rusty skewers, vintage Shimano skewers in my parts hoard. So the shoes are solid. You can see cleaned the bottom bracket, headset, cranks, chain rings, all that stuff. Bearings look good. The hubs had a couple of tiny, almost unnoticeable imperfections in the cones. Not that bad. It's not a race bike. Totally fine. Might as well strip this Raleigh down and get it out of the way. Clean the frame later and put it for sale. I think the last one I bought for $70. I think I'm getting 60 for the frame. I know I got one before. I just sold the fork and the stem on eBay. I got like 40 for the fork and 15 for the stem. I'm stripping it down and I come to a weird thing. I'm going to use my favorite bottom bracket tool. This old Sagino one. I think these are great. It does not fit no matter what I do. So then I go to my sweet switchblade adjustable blah 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 old Park one. Doesn't fit. So then I grab my last one that's sitting out here. I have a few more in my room. I got to buy used tools. You never go wrong with having extra tools. And this is the reason why. Grab this guy. It fits. Get on there. Now usually I find a weird bottom bracket slightly undersized and everything's really loose and slips off and it's a nightmare. This Park one that fits is a 36 mil. The other two that don't fit are 35 mils. Who knew? I don't think I've ever really noticed that before. Just something to put out there. Move, do I slip? That's not the right tool. That's not the right. None of these are the right tool. It's washer time. So here is a method for a tight ass bottom bracket. It's usually just sort of balance this thing on here and hit it with the hammer a couple of times. Figured I'd try this old method. This is a giant washer and a spacer. This is a cartridge bottom bracket tool. I'm just using it as a spacer. You can use a headset spacer or an old bottom bracket cup or whatever. And this is just a long bolt. I think it's M8 by 1. It's the same as a crank bolt. So it's got a long bolt to fit this long shaft. Just to hold this wrench on here so it can't really slip. Sort of held the other side of the bottom bracket, tighten this down a little bit. And now, give this old tight cup a whack. And remember, on most normal bikes and English bikes, the drive side is reverse thread, just like the left pedal is reverse thread. So this one's righty loosey instead of righty tighty. Slip that loose a little bit. Woohoo! And now it's nice and loose and get it off. I can show you, this is this fixed cup tool. Just a big random washer I had lying around. This big jerk has a spacer and just a long crank threaded bolt to hold into that BB spindle. Super easy. I have a bunch of other stuff like this. Here's a cool one I got for free the other day. It's a cartridge bottom bracket tool. This guy spring loads in and it's got BB threads in there. So you can thread it in and have it spring hold it in tight using a big giant wrench. Got this cool one. I paid $2 a pound for it. Sunday salvage sale and found. It's the same thing. It's basically a cup that threads onto your crank bolt, and then you can thread this cup down tight to hold the wrench in place. This is for the old style crank bolts with the external threads. This doesn't work on these modern ones. You could probably use it and just run a crank bolt in from the outside. Have to try that. I got it the other day, so I haven't tried it yet. And then I also have the fancy one from my toolkit from my I Got the Bling Bling video, my brand new fancy campy Cobra toolkit. No one watched that video. It's a shame for you guys. There's cool stuff in there. I will start using those tools, and I would have went out and got it to show this one off, but this cup's slightly oversized, so it probably wouldn't have worked. But cool. So this thing's as stripped down as it needs to be. Let's see if anybody wants to buy it for cheap. If not, I'll go on the scrap pile. It's pretty good shape, really. It's got a cool like 90s speckly splattery paint job. It's late. It's probably bedtime. Tomorrow we'll probably start putting this thing back together. Guess I can start with this dope wheel. Tight. Shame it says 5 instead of 2 or 1. That'd be valuable. But they probably would have restored it for that instead of selling it to me. So whatever. Look at this bike. Tons of clearance for fenders, fat tires, rack eyelets, fender eyelets. It's a cool bike. Bam! And just like that, I built this little bike. I really, really, really appreciate having little stuff done ahead of time. So the first thing I did was install the bottom bracket, install the headset. I did the wheels last night. Done, clean, inspected, new bearings, grease. Totally legit. Well, triple checking the bearing, make sure it's not too loose. Having the tires, tubes on, done, ready, so it's popping right in. Start building. So this morning I was, put a crank on, just so I could get the feel for the bottom bracket, make sure it's not too loose or too tight. And accidentally bolted the derailleur on because the cassette's already in there, and I had the crank on. I did some funny stuff on this bike. Already had the crank on, so I put the chain on just to size it up and see. Oh yeah, there it goes. And I pulled out these weird Dicomp X1 brakes. The ones that are on this bike were about the same brake, but they didn't have the X1 sticker, and all the hardware was super rusty. But I got this really clean, nice brake set from Community Cycling Center Sunday Salvage Sale last week. They were in a Ziploc bag, ready to go. I was going to put them up for sale on eBay, and they're worth more money that way, but I want a really nice clean brake set on this bike, so I did it. Even though the chain cassette I use, they look like they don't have 50 miles on them. They're brand new off the track. So yeah, tires, chain cassette off the track. Did I do anything else off the track? I don't remember. I had this single 38 tooth steel ring to put in the middle position, so I could use the stock bottom bracket and spindle and all that. I couldn't find any of my single speed chainring bolts except for some brand new black alloy ones. So that's funny to put a steel ring on with some super light alloy chainring bolts. I preferred to save these, but I had 2 sets. I have no idea what to do with them. I just had some nice black SE pedals off a bike I tore down a couple days ago. Pedal washers. The stem came to me off something a little while ago. It's like a Callaway Originate style or whatever. The shifter's a single 7-speed trigger shifter. It came to me on some hack bike a while ago. I think it was a bike I found in a free box like 2 blocks away. It had like a crappy thummy on the left and this decent but cheap trigger shifter on the right, which worked perfect. These are the original brake levers that came on this bike. Dicomp XCE short stops. I ran down to Tomcat Bikes because he's talking about having me do some refurbishes, which is basically like a tune-up with maybe some new parts. Like kind of like a major tune-up. Maybe new tires, brake pads, that kind of stuff, new cables and housing. Get some bikes on the sale floor. So I might start doing some of those for him, give me something else to do, because I'm too lazy for my own stuff, but for money, maybe I'll get something done. Do some of those here, maybe go cover some shifts at his shop. It might be fun. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. I did not have nicer straddle cables. So I took these, I did some weird stuff. I took the bolts out, they were super rusty. I found all new washers that fit matching set, so I could match a nice thick one, a thin stainless one, use some brand new M6 nylock nuts because I didn't have any of the wing nutty things. I just sort of wire brushed the rust off the back of this, put some Sharpie on it. It's clean. It used to be chrome, but like a thin, crappy chrome. So I really just wire brushed it in my hand for a few seconds of Sharpie. I've never done that before. Hopefully, it doesn't get rusty right away. It looks fine for a few years. Or forever if this person doesn't ride in the rain. But yeah, I was so happy. This bike I bought for 20 bucks at the salvage sale. I was so happy. The wheels are just immaculate. Like no brake wear at all. Totally round and true. I barely touched any spokes. All even-ish spoke tension. Pretty close. Within 3 or 4. I'm using the seat off of it. It's like in brand new shape, so got the brand new price tag on the bottom. The seat post came in it. Cable stops came in it. I'm using the cranks. I didn't use a ridge railer. It was really crusty. So this is one I pulled off of CB1. I went to Tomcat and got a slightly nicer, like Exarge 500 or something. For 10 or 15 bucks and put it on to save this. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just plastic and the pulley bolts are... I couldn't get them loose to overhaul the pulleys. I felt bad because that was a complete overhaul. This basically was too, but it's a cheaper bike and who cares. It's an MB5, but it's still real Tange chromo tubes, real chromo fork blades. Like, there's nothing wrong with this bike, man. Real dropouts. Like, this is a totally great bike. I couldn't tell the difference between this and an MB2, if it had a repaint. These are some walled cruiser bars I got at the last swap meet, I think, for like $1. They're about the perfect thing. Cruiser bars are really tricky with trigger shifters. The little numbers thing wants to hit the inside of the thing, so they're back a little too far, so I had to trim like a 1/4 inch off the grips. It's a tiny bike. I was going to ride, it's going to probably have tiny hands. It's not going to matter. So I had all scrap housing. I had a little piece of Jaguar. It was just long enough for these little short front brake runs, and this little back guy. I think the little back guy might be like Shimano or something, but it's far enough away and it's all black. I had a piece of Jaguar leftover shift housing. It was exactly long enough for the two. I cut it just right. So that's fun. I put brand new straddle cables on here. I've talked about these in videos before. Going sometimes you get like a bag of these for 5 or 10 bucks for 6 or 7 of them on eBay. Sometimes there's not any right now. Pork Chop BMX, which I mentioned before, they're a great source for colored barrel adjusters and all the colored hardware and weird old BMX parts and cheap low-end road bike and mountain bike parts. But they're a great source for new straddle cables for $4. They have a bunch of colors. The straddle cables are $2, $1.98, and a bunch of the hangers from Diacomp in a bunch of different colors. I think they get direct from Japan. Diacomp's still making old school BMX-y stuff. So I'm going to go order a bunch more of those. There's one guy with a bag of these on eBay with 7 of them in it for 15 bucks with free shipping. It's really worth it. I should just order it. I like to have matchy-matchies, and they always come in bags of 7, I think. So I have 1 left over from this bag, and I ordered 1 more from Pork Chop, and then I ordered 4 of a different style. And Pork Chop BMX also has a bunch of colored headset spacers in 1 and 1 1/8, and a few sizes. So I got all the red stuff for Lindsay's bike. So this thing's basically done. I think I'll throw some used, in good shape water bottle bolts in just to make it finished. Seat post running, I got rid of the quick release. It was all rusty and they get stolen, so I just put a big M6 in with some washers and a nylock. So you need 2 tools to adjust that seat post, but whatever. Make sure everything's loose and free and moves. And I have not tested this bike yet. It's really late. This piece of housing is kind of touching the wrench flats. It makes it feel like the headset's notched in too tight, but it's not. So yeah, tomorrow I'll give it a test ride. I'm going to take it down to Tomcat and give it to him to consign sell. See if someone cares. I got another bike that's exciting. I'll get it done and out to consign sale. And hopefully I'll spend an hour on that tomorrow refurbishing it. And then start on some of his bikes in between my projects while I'm looking for parts and freaking out. It is only Friday the 13th. And I did buy some tools yesterday as well. And I bought a tool today. So I got me some more Pro tools. This is the Park FAG 2 for frame alignment gauge 2. That's how Park identifies all their stuff. And made the ruler one. This one's way cooler. It's a nice light aluminum C channel. Goes head tube, seat tube, or dropout. You can tighten and adjust this thing so you can check it on both sides of the frame. Flip it over, make sure the rear triangle's in space. And this is the Park FFS2, FUS2 for I think it's frame fork straightener. And this dude's a big old badass, and it's heavy and it's chrome. And you loop it underneath the stay, and loop that onto a stay, and you can yank and bend the bike. You can move this thing around for different leverage points and stuff. So these dudes is cool. And then earlier today, for no reason, when I opened Facebook like I do to see if there's any cheap bikes in Marketplace, and there's a beautiful, beautiful frame on Marketplace. It's like late 50s, maybe early 60s. Can't be dropouts, English made. Gets $100. It's my size. I'm drowning in shit. Do I need a $100 project? I'd want to build it with all old 50s and 60s bike parts. It would be a huge rusty nightmare. I did this once before with like a 1950s German bike, a Rubberneck. I loved it. I rode it a little bit. I sold it. I love this bike though. It's my size, even though I have so many other projects. So I might go email that dude. He's got another bike for $125, like one Bridgestone, that I think would be a cool bike to single speed out with all beater parts. But this I got. It's popped up for $60. It's a Swagelok tubing bender. These are not like the crappy tubing benders you see in stores. These things are like $500 brand new. They are super heavy duty. They're made for bending stainless steel tubing all day long for breweries and stuff, running hard lines, not soft aluminum and brass lines like most benders that will break very easily if you try and bend tubes. And this is what I use for making all my rando racks. Clamp this little nub in the vise, and you clamp your little rack tube in, and you can get a nice little bend right here. That's what I use to make little tombstones on them. And I make these for any of the stays that sweep or anything. So, I sold all my stuff when I closed the shop. This 1/4 inch is the prettiest, sexiest little size for rando-y handlebar bag racks. I also like 5/16 for more heavy duty stuff, and I like 3/8 for like real touring stuff and poor tour racks. So I'll keep my eyes out for other benders, but yeah, $60. The guy said he got a job, not for a brewery, but for something cool, kind of like that, making a bunch of custom one-off tubing and stuff, but hasn't done it in years. So I put it for sale because he was broke. He was so broke, he came and delivered it to me all the way from Vancouver, which was like probably a 30-minute drive on the freeways. Didn't even ask for gas money or nothing. I was just so happy to get $60. I was happy to help. So the tools are piling up. Someday I will get a garage and or a new shop, and it will show you guys how to bend rack tubing and do brazing and all that kind of stuff. Maybe build a frame or two again. I wouldn't mind building myself a nice city bike pour tour. Tell you what, I would love it. Yeah, the Bridgestone went from sitting in the yard for a week and a half, shocked it didn't get stolen, so that guy flaked on buying it, to tore down, to overhauled and rebuilt back up. Way cooler. Way cooler than nice tall roadie stem. Way cooler with the cruisery city bike bars. Way cooler with fat 1.5s. I've gone 1.75s if I had some, but fat and one by. It's super dope. I feel guilty. I feel like everyone should have 1-to-1 ratio. Now that I'm old and my knees hurt, should probably put an 11 or 13 or whatever 34 cassette and a 34 front ring, but those are hard to find in 7-speed, and 34 front rings are impossible to find. But I definitely rode the Nothing Special Schwinn up a long, boring miles of hill today, and I really do need to. I think I have an 1132 cassette. I really need. I have an 1134 I bought. I really need to put it on. And that'll give me one more gear, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to switch to a 34 at the front. Guys, the whole time I was like, why did I make this a 1-by? Oh, it'd be so nice to have, a little 32 tooth or something. Whatever, it's fun. 1-bys are cool. I don't care. They're done on modern, 10 and 11 speed bikes with pie plate cassettes, but on city bikes, I think they're great. But yeah, so that's the Bridgestone video, and thanks for watching. Oh, also check out my cool Stoke Wheel shirt. He gave this to me at the big handmade bike show, the Made show, a couple of weeks ago, and I only wore it under hoodies so far on on camera. So it's cool to have it. Stoke Wheels is the best wheel builder. He absolutely ships wheels. He can build you anything you want, especially in mountain bike stuff and really modern-y stuff. And he also has a spoke cutter and all the spokes in the world, so if you can do your own calc, or you know what hubs and what rims you want, and you want him to do the calc, you can do the calc and cut you spokes and mail them. He makes his own spoke prep. You know, all that cool stuff. He works with one of the mountain bikey guys. He builds a lot of wheels for us, like a crazy chemist dude, and helped him develop it, which is really cool. But he builds all of my wheels because I'm heavy and I ride hard, and stock wheels do not hold up very long unless they have high tension and they have cracking rims and cracking around the spoke holes and stuff. I also concave wheels a lot with rim brakes because I'm heavy and I stop hard. But every wheel that Brian's ever built for me has held up. I've never had a single problem. I don't think I've ever had a touch-up true one after years and years and thousands of miles. They've never creaked. I have guys build me wheels and they don't get the tension high enough and they creak where the spokes cross. And once they do that, they wear in a little bit, like, you know, little wear marks. You can never really tune them or true them because they always pop back into those grooves. And it's super annoying. Yeah, he's got that wheel set he's built for me in my room. I just need the right frame. Maybe I should go buy this old 60s frame and put a 9-speed Tiago group on it. I don't know, whatever. Thanks for watching.